What's going on, everybody? It's Lucky Fan Gaming here, and welcome back to For Honor, where today I'm going to start a little mini-series talking about which characters in the game are the best armored or the best weaponized, just generally the best kitted, and which ones are the worst, naturally. This isn't a talk about which ones are like the best characters in the game. This is just talking about how they are in real life. Trust me, there are people who are way better at this game than I am who can tell you about which characters are the best in game. This also isn't going to be a talk about which ones are the most historically accurate. Just again talking about how well kitted they are. So today I want to start by talking about the Vikings because honestly I feel like they're kind of the worst off. So without further ado, let's get into this. Alright guys, and starting off with the Jormungandr, I'm going to try and take these things as over-exaggerations because it is a video game, and given that fact, she actually has a pretty good weapon. The Warhammer is actually a pretty good weapon overall, but the rest of her kit is just really bad. As you can see, she's not even wearing shoes. She's generally not wearing armor. She's got some leather over her forearms, but that's really not going to help her a whole lot. So the problem with Jormungandr is as you can see, or as we've already discussed, I should say, she's got basically no armor. So basically, the problem with having no armor in any given situation is that she's just basically begging to get hit. As soon as she gets hit, even a single time, she's going to take a massive wound. Whether it's a large gash or a stab, she gets hit in the chest, there's a good chance it's going to go into her lung, it's going to go into her heart, and it's just basically a death sentence. She's not wearing a helmet, so, it really doesn't matter just how skilled you are, because it's just a matter of time, really, until somebody hits you, and it's going to happen. If you battle a lot, you may win your first fight, you may win your second fight, but eventually the opponent's gonna hit you. Or somebody's gonna hit you, and you're gonna die. Okay, with no armor, you're gonna die. What's worse is she's not wearing any shoes. This is one of the biggest things. No shoes. She's gonna step on a rock. It's gonna cut her foot open, and she's gonna be in a bad situation. You can see somebody like the Gladiator actually has a move where he stabs you in the foot. Now, with somebody with armor, that probably wouldn't be so bad. But for her, it's gonna go straight through her foot into the ground, and then he's gonna pull his weapon back out, and she's gonna be in a world of hurt. She's gonna be in a really bad situation. So definitely starting off in a very bad position is the Jormungandr. So that's why she's at number 7 on our list. Alright guys, and next we have the Berserker. She is doing a little better than the Jormungandr, but not by much. As you can see, she is wearing things like shoes and a little bit of armor. She's got some nice shoulder pads that are made of wool and leather, which is really not bad. It's going to work a little bit like Gambeson. And she's wearing a face protection mask, which is better than, the Jormungandr was wearing, but it's still not great for reasons I'll go into later. She's wielding 2 heavy axes. I don't know that I would wield 2 in any situation, but, she seems to, kind of know what she's doing with them. I think personally I'd rather have a shield than 2 axes, but, we can talk more about that in a minute. So the problem with the Berserker is, though she is above the Jormungandr because she does wear things like shoes, she still is in a bad situation with not having any helmet, and she's not really wearing any real good armor. As you can see on her chest and everything, she's wearing mostly just like cloth. She's got something over her shoulders directly, so if somebody was to take any side swings, she could theoretically, I guess, kind of block with her shoulder a little bit. But really, you wouldn't be blocking with your shoulder, especially not with that part of your shoulder in the first place. But again, with the no armor in the chest, same thing applies. Same thing applies with the head. Now, I know a lot of you are like, well, she's got the thing over her face. That's still not really that good. Okay, it's going to prevent you from maybe getting stabbed directly in the face. but it's not really going to stop anybody from doing some serious damage to you, because somebody could still butt you in the back with the back of their sword, or they could beat you with the side of their polearm, and it's going to break your nose. All that mask really does is prevent you from actually taking a cut, but it's not really going to stop any of the impact like a really decent helmet might. So she's really in a bad situation there. Then continuing about her axes, I don't think I would ever use two heavy axes like that. They would be very unwieldy to hold one in one hand and one in the other hand. It makes it very undefensive. It's very hard to defend with those two weapons. She would be much better off if she had a shield in one hand and then one of her heavy axes in the other hand. I think that would improve her way more, but unfortunately, she doesn't do that, so that's why she's still fairly low on our list at number 6. Alright guys, and next we have the Raider. He just barely tops out the Berserker because he actually does have some hide over his shoulders to prevent enemies from just chopping into him, and he's got a good helmet. So these things are good things, but you'll find that many of the Vikings are actually fairly similar here by way of not having a lot of armor, and this guy is just completely shirtless. He doesn't have a lot of armor over his legs. Does look like he may have some brigandine type armor over his right leg there, I think. But then we also see that he's got a good Dane axe, a good weapon to have. Definitely a weapon I would recommend. So we see the Raider here. So here at number 5 we have the Raider. Now the Raider he's a little better off than the two before him, but he's still not in a good position. At the very least, he does have a helmet, so he's at less risk of just having somebody overhead chop him and just hit him in the skull and break his skull, or give him a concussion, or any of the other worst things that could possibly happen. However, he's still in a bad position because, again, his chest is just hilariously exposed. One of the things that he does have going for him, like I said, is the pole axe, or the Dane axe. That is a good weapon to have, because it does mean he's in a position to where there is less chance that somebody's going to hit him in the chest. So even though he is completely exposed, he can definitely keep his distance with that Dane axe. So he does have that going for him, and he does seem like he knows how to wield that Dane axe really fast, maybe unrealistically fast. But it still is a great advantage if you have the opportunity, and especially in medieval times when they had the opportunity, they were definitely going with a long weapon. You want to keep that opponent as far from you as possible. Either that, or you want to have something to defend you, and he doesn't have that, but he does have the distance game. So good stuff for the Raider on that note. Alright guys, and then we have the Shaman. The Shaman is actually finding herself in a pretty decent spot despite her strange nature. She's got two short weapons, which I really wouldn't recommend. However, given her very crazy animalistic fighting style, I guess it works for her pretty well. She's wearing just generally more armor. As you can see, she's got leather padding covering almost her entire body. She's got a shield on her back, so that way she can't just get stabbed, in her heart area and have somebody stick it through her heart. The only thing about her is that she does not have a helmet of any kind, so she's just begging to get hit in the head, especially given her animalistic nature. Somebody could easily just bash her in the face with a shield, but we'll talk about that more in a minute. And also given the fact that she's also wearing some bone armor, which does actually have some realistic place in history, but we can talk about all that here in just a moment. Alright guys, I'm not going to lie to y'all, this was actually a really close one for me. I almost put her lower than the Raider just because the Raider has a helmet. However, she does have a few things going for her, and that is that some of her more vital organs, I mean obviously not her head and her brain, but some of her other vital organs are just generally more protected than they are on Raider. She's still not really in that great a position. In most fights, she would still probably get absolutely clapped no matter the situation, unless she was fighting, somebody with even less armor than her and even less weaponry than her. But as you can see here, mostly I'm fighting Warden here, just fighting the little Warden bot. Warden here is actually really well armored, so she, I could rail on about this for days. No armor, or at least very little armor. No armor on the head, and especially given the fact that she does these little charges, as you can see. You know, she's charging in with her head first, and you know you're gonna hit armor with your head, you're going to get a concussion. You know, that's not going to be good for you. That's not going to work out for you. She has a very strange fighting style, and that's one of the reasons that I think she's slightly above Raider. It's just because her fighting style is so unique. I think if she was to ever come across anybody in real life, they'd be so confused by her fighting style because she fights so irregularly, and she's got that animalistic nature about her. However, one thing that does bother me, and I scream about this all the time when I'm playing games, when I'm playing a character like Lawbringer or Conqueror or Warden, as she jumps on me and bites my neck out, you know, I'm wearing chainmail. How did she bite through that? I don't get that. How did she do that? But that's just a personal complaint of mine. So Shaman here at number 4, I really don't have a whole lot more to say about her. Alright guys, and finally we're at the Highlander, and we're almost to one of the guys that actually knows what they're doing. As you can see, he's covered almost from head to toe in armor. He's got some obvious spots where you could easily stick a sword or a spear through, and he's got no cover on his hands. But overall, he's fairly well armored. He's got some leather scales armor, and those scales did have prominence in history. Those were usually made out of metal. I don't think I've ever seen any armor that was made out of leather that was scaled like that. And then next we have his large sword. And like I said, I was trying to take these kind of as an over-exaggeration. However, given Highlander's fighting style, it seems like this sword is almost too heavy for him. But we'll talk about that here in just a moment. The Highlander, as I said, in a slightly better position than the others before him. He actually does have some good leather armor. He's got some good wool over his shoulders and everything, which is definitely going to help with slashing strikes and things like that. As you can see, though, he doesn't have a lot of armor on his legs, so that is definitely going to, you know, any low strike is going to be very dangerous for him. And one of the things that I was saying a moment ago about the Highlander here, ordinarily, like I said, I'm trying to take, you know, some of these things as just over exaggerations. However, his sword genuinely seems like he's having a mildly hard time controlling that sword, meaning that that sword is not just a great sword, it's a huge great sword, and it's an executioner sword, more or less. And that, I don't think there's any situation where anybody ever took an executioner sword into battle. That would just be a weapon that would be hilariously bad to take, because you're just begging to get outmaneuvered. Even somebody with another large weapon like a Dane axe or a polearm or a great sword is going to outmaneuver you in almost every situation. An executioner sword, at least I don't know that it's necessarily supposed to be an executioner sword, but that's just what I'm comparing it to, because it does seem so heavy. As you can see, he does seem to be having a mildly hard time controlling it. It takes a lot of oomph, a lot of effort to swing that sword. So I can only assume that it's an executioner sword of some kind. So the Highlander, that's why he's lower than the next ones that I'm going to put up. So the Highlander, he's got himself a pretty good position. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a helmet. That's the one thing. But he does seem to be a big hulking guy. So maybe in his situation, a head protection might not be as important, because it's going to be harder for them to hit him in the head. So good spot for Highlander. Alright guys, and finally we're to one of the Vikings that actually has somewhat of a clue, the Valkyrie. As you can see, she is very well armored. Her upper arms aren't armored at all, but she is wearing some leather or hide plate, which actually did have good prominence in history. She's got some good metal shin guards, it looks like there, so nobody's just going to be kicking her in the shins and watching her collapse. She's got a good buckler styled shield and a spear, so she's got that good long arm and shield combo going, and she has a good helmet, something that the Highlander was definitely lacking. So she's definitely got some good things going for her. Alright guys, and the Valkyrie, she has a lot of good things going for her. She's got that spear and that buckler styled shield. That is a really good combo to have. She's got that distance game with the spear. And then for her defense, she doesn't have a whole lot of armor on her upper arms, but she would be, if somebody was to give a lunging strike, assuming they had a weapon that could compete with her distance, you know, if they were to give a lunging strike, she could definitely protect herself. So, you know, I don't really have a whole lot to say about the Valkyrie because, as you all know, she's got a lot of the good things going for her, and I've talked about most of the things already. Her helmet is a good one. It doesn't look like it's too set on her face, so if she was to get butted in the back of the face, somehow, it's not going to break her teeth or break her nose or anything. So she's definitely in a good spot. Alright guys, and last but certainly not least, we have the best Viking in the game. It's the Warlord. As you can see, he is very, very well armored. There's barely an inch of him that is not well armored. He's got a good helmet on his head with some protection for the back of his neck. He's got a good shield, and he's got a Viking broadsword there. He looks like he's wearing some metal plates and then some chainmail underneath that. He is definitely ready to go. He's got a good weapon setup given how the Vikings generally fought and everything like that. So number one is definitely the Warlord. Alright guys, so for the Warlord, like I said, he's already got a good weapon setup with that Viking broadsword. You know, that's going to put a lot of heft behind his swings. He doesn't have the distance game like the Valkyrie does, but he does have a good Viking circle shield, and he's got a good helmet. Like I said, he's got a lot of chain. He's got a lot of chainmail, and you know, I said that I thought maybe he's got some plate on, but that might be leather. But it doesn't really matter because if you look at his legs, he's got chainmail there. He's got, it also looks like maybe over the chainmail, he's got some brigandine style armor. In case you guys don't know what I mean when I say brigandine style armor, it's just basically little tiny plates set up in different areas. Brigandine was a very common kind of armor. It's not as good as plate necessarily, but it is still good armor. And even if he does only have, like I said, if he's only got leather over his chest and things, that chainmail underneath is definitely going to help him with that. The only thing is that things like lunges might hurt him, but again, he's got that shield. That shield is going to be really good and help him quite a bit. So the Warlord is in a very good position. He's basically armored from head to toe. The only problem that I could definitely see with his kit is maybe his neck area does seem a little exposed. But again, he's got that shield. Shields are just absolutely... A shield is, you can't ask for a better defense tool than a shield. You always want a shield if you have the opportunity to have a shield. But alright guys, that's really all I have for you today. These are just the Vikings. Do watch out for the Samurai, the Wuli, and the Knights to come forward. I will definitely be talking about them in a future episode. But I do hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you all in another time and dimension, whenever or wherever that may be. Till then, peace out.